KeyBank is giving out upwards of $100,000 in no-doc business funding.
We can work on just about any type of request. We have all of the capabilities of larger banks, but we can be a little bit more nimble because of our size.
So are there any industries you guys do not serve?
So I know there's a lot of banks that are avoid trucking, logistics, things like that. We don't really have any restrictions on those.
For clients $1 million or above, they could be assigned a virtual banker, and then $3 million above would be with you, right?
Correct.
$10,000, that'd be a pretty interesting property, huh?
We can pretty much handle any type of owner-occupied real estate request.
KeyBank is giving out upwards of $100,000 in no-doc business funding. Here's my client, Becky from Oregon. She got a $50K business line of credit approved with no docs. Here's Alton from Michigan. He got $90K in no-doc business funding using the Double LLC Hack. Stick around until the end to learn exactly how that works. What's up, guys? My name is Colin Matthew, and I'm the owner of Freedom Funders. We help entrepreneurs, business owners fix their credit and fund their businesses with 100K plus and 0% capital to create 5K plus in cash flow every single month. KeyBank is a national lender in 16 states, and they offer business term loans and lines of credit up to $500,000, business credit cards with cash back, 0%, and travel rewards. They also do business real estate loans up to $1 million, equipment financing nationwide, and SBA loans up to $5 million. Here's some snippets from my interview with a key banker. They offer up to $50K. It's just a simply scored product, approval based on personal FICO and a business score, stated income, no docs. From $50 to $100K, it's still unsecured, but underwriting may ask for just 1 year of financials. Above $100,000 plus, they're looking at traditional underwriting, 3 years of tax returns, personal financial statements, and collateral. That's why so many of my clients are typically targeting that $50K, because it's typically no docs.
The areas that we have available to us, we have within our traditional balance sheet lending, we have different segments depending on the financials that are going to be needed. So up to $50,000, we have basically a scored product that is really just based on the credit score, stated income. The score that's really looked at is the personal FICO score and the business score, typically pulled from Small Business Financial Exchange or LexisNexis. So, really straightforward, but does require a visit to one of our local branches. So anytime we do have a referral, the branch would need to meet with the client in person, kind of discuss that. Our lending packages up to $100,000 are still unsecured, but we would look for a year of financials for the business and personally. Sometimes underwriting can request a little bit more information, but we can do that either. Then once we get above that, we go, more into traditional underwriting, where we can really lend within my group, our credit officers, up to $20 million in total exposure. So with that, typically we're looking for full financials. That could be 3 years of financials with business, personal financial statement, debt schedule. With that, we're really just looking to see, the cash flow, is it supporting the request?
One of the biggest questions I asked was, what industries do they not lend to? And here's what the banker said. Prohibited industries are just the federally restricted ones like cannabis. Trucking is fine. They lend to it. Construction, yes, as long as it's working capital or equipment, not ground up. Real estate, if it's income producing or backed by management cash flow, that's fine. Restaurants, they do them all the time, especially expansion or equipment financing. So if you're trucking, construction, or real estate, or even running a restaurant, you've got options.
With industries that we won't, there's, kind of the general prohibited list that, any kind of, we wouldn't be able, and this is kind of more of the federally mandated things like, the marijuana related industries, anything like that. If there's crypto related, some of that kind of emerging technology stuff, there's going to be, it's going to be a little bit more criticized, but what I can say is we're always willing to have a conversation. Is there anything in particular that you see out there, or that, that's you find that you've been having difficulty placing?
Yes, trucking, construction, real estate, or restaurants.
We're actually very comfortable still. I know there's a lot of banks that are kind of avoid trucking, logistics, things like that. We don't really have any restrictions on those. When it comes to construction, we will lend to a high quality contractor. Ground up construction, to be quite honest, is not our strength. So that type of project, probably isn't going to have the best home here for us. But if the purpose is for, a contractor looking to help with their working capital, it's something that we can take a look at. Or equipment purchases, any type of traditional lending needs, but not specifically construction projects. Same thing with real estate, where if the purpose is going to be for acquiring and kind of anything speculative real estate-wise, there's going to be some pause because we really just don't have visibility into the underlying asset. So that's where not having that as our collateral becomes an issue. But if there are revenues and, if there's a property management component of it, if there's any type of recurring income, something that would really give us a tangible idea of how this would assist with cash flow, that there would be some type of collateral backing, there's definitely opportunities there. For restaurants, same thing where, it's really just understanding what is going to be the need for the restaurant. We do a lot of we do a lot of startup financing. We're working right now with a restaurant on a 4th location. We're looking to help finance some of their equipment. We can acquire real estate for them. So they'll often, fit into our SBA bucket, but there's a lot of opportunities. I think the biggest challenge is seeing just a general working capital line of credit for a restaurant.
I also asked about the age requirements for businesses, and here's what they said.
We would have to be able to show cash flow to allow for repayment starting day one. So, we have another industry that I know sometimes there's some difficulty. We're looking at hospitality too, which is another criticized industry, but we do have some outlets sometimes where we are looking at it as a startup, but one particular owner, they have another unrelated company that will be adding some strength to the transaction as a corporate guarantor, which helps mitigate some of the age of the startup business and, can kind of give us a little bit more comfort with the project.
I know Aiden mentioned, he can do a business line of credit. Typically, he serves people, I guess, under, that $1 million range in person, 50,000 and below, no docs, and sometimes a 25,000 card. And then you mentioned for clients $1 million or above, they could be assigned a virtual banker, and then 3 million above would be with you, right?
Correct.
And now, can they open the bank account virtually as well?
Yes, they can. So the folks that are under $1 million in revenue would need to do that in person. For me or any of my virtual counterparts, we can do everything virtually via DocuSign.
Startups can qualify under SBA if projections show repayment from day one. Term loans and locks typically want 2 years in business. And importantly, if your revenue is under $1 million, you need to go in person to a branch. If you're over $1 million, you could work virtually through DocuSign with a virtual banker. That's why I always tell my clients the in-person banker connection is everything at KeyBank. Rates are also super competitive. SBA loans typically price around prime plus 2 to 2.5 if the relationship is strong. Larger commercial loans can tie to SOFR or even swap rates. And they mentioned they rarely lose deals on pricing. They also have aggressive merchant services and deposit offers, which can lower your overall cost of capital.
We don't lose very often based on pricing, especially in the larger states. We can price on prime, we can price on SOFR, on facilities over $1 million. So that index, at least the last few years since it replaced LIBOR is typically to the borrower's advantage. We have a full derivative desk too, so we can do swap rates and we do all of that in-house, so there isn't a third party that is adding additional fees on there. I rarely see that we are losing in the market based on our pricing. But assuming that we have the full relationship, we can be pretty aggressive. On the SBA side, typically when we're looking at a floating rate, we're typically looking at about SBA allows us to charge up to, I believe it's prime plus 3.5, but as long as we have the relationship, we're typically seeing that price somewhere between prime plus 2.5. Again, depending on the risk, once we get our risk ratings in, and we can assess what the full scope of the relationship would look like. And that can be anything across the board. That can include payments. We do have a referral program actually where we can offer a small cash compensation to individuals that are referring us. So if you do have clients that do merchant processing, that's another piece of business that we do in-house. We're very good at. Our pricing is extremely aggressive, and we can look at, we have revenue from there that kind of helps offset some of the costs when we look at the overall return on the relationship.
And one last gem, they offer owner-occupied commercial real estate loans that have a minimum as low as $10K, and investment real estate starts at $1 million. That $10K minimum is nuts. It means even small businesses looking to own their office or their storefront can get in the door.
I'd like to assume that would be the most up-to-date information. We have our footprint is, you can see where, across the country there are some areas that, the real estate prices are a bit lower. So, certainly that doesn't surprise me that we can pretty much handle any type of, owner-occupied real estate request.
Yeah, $10,000. That'd be a pretty interesting property, huh? Maybe in Pennsylvania, that'll get you, something.
Yeah, you never know. I always, I feel like I always say like I've seen it all, and then all of a sudden I'm surprised. So I'd love to, see what we can finance next.
I don't even think a hot dog stand in New York goes for $10,000. I've heard that they're like $100,000.
Yes, not so gently pre-owned, maybe.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Michael. We look forward to that email and look forward to, sending you more referrals. Now back to the Double LLC hack. Alton strategy, he had 2 LLCs, one for real estate, one for notary business. He applied under the first, got $25K card, $25K line of credit. He then told the banker about a second LLC, applied again, got another $25K line and $15K card. Total, $90K in business funding with no docs. Here's a pro tip. If you apply for both a line of credit and a card at the same time, many banks will often split the limit. My advice is apply for the line of credit first, get the maximum, then get the card. All right, guys, that about wraps it up for this video. I did my part and dropped some major value for you guys. Now it's your turn. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and let me know what you learned. Be sure to subscribe for more business funding videos like this. And of course, links for credit repair with a 90-day results guarantee and 100K plus and 0% business funding are in the pinned comment and description. This is Credit with Colin, and I'll see you guys on the next one.